If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 222 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, the Yankee Yapper with the best yap in all the land, here on June 9th, 2024, with a little bit less of an order of a yappuccino today. And I will tell you exactly what I mean by that in just a second, but how about finally starting off a new episode with a somewhat normal intro for once? The standard Yapping Yankees intro, because the last couple of weeks have been very eventful. Last week I started you off right away with a Judge Clips montage of his continued godlike gameplay that has even continued all the way up to today. No shock there. And then the week before that, I think it was, I even started you off with an entirely new song, Let the Good Times Roll, by The Cars. Because the good times were indeed rolling just that much. But now, this week, on June 9th, we finally have the standard Yapping Yankees intro back. Good to go back to the origins for once these last few weeks, and my God, has it been eventful. And speaking of eventful, I do have an eventful day ahead of me yet again, and that is what I meant before by a little bit smaller of an order of the usual typical hour-and-a-half plus sized yappuccino. A little bit less today. Because actually, I'm recording much earlier in the day than I usually do. And it's not just because the Yankees have a 7 o'clock game tonight against the Dodgers. That is not the only reason, at least. It does make it line up quite nicely, though. It works out okay, so that's nice. But I also do have a bit of a crazy day ahead of me that limits the amount of time that I have to record today. So it is in the early 1 o'clock hour right now. It's very early in the day. It even rained this morning a little bit, even though it was nowhere in the forecast whatsoever, even just a few hours ago. So that's nice when the weather people just botch things as per usual. But the rain is gone now. Sun's coming out, looking to be a pretty nice day for the rest of the way out, thank God. The weather has been phenomenal of late, I do have to say that. But regardless of the freaking weather, it's not why I'm talking about this. As usual, my ADHD kicks in. But anyway, I have a limited amount of time to tape today because in just a short while, I'm going to be heading out east to attend my amazing girlfriend's final dance recital. Yeah, round of applause. Why the hell not? She deserves it. But yes, it is her last dance recital. She's been doing it for about 25 years, give or take, dancing overall. So I do have to give all the credit in the world to my girlfriend for having the dedication and the discipline and the ability to be a phenomenal dancer the way she has been all her life. I'm very proud of her that it has all culminated to this, and I can't wait to go and see her perform again. And continue to also be the best dancer on the entire stage of any number in the entire show, because that's what happens every single year. And I genuinely mean that. So that is what's happening later today, and that does limit the amount of time that I have to tape. So that also leads to my next point, the fact that there is also not going to be a social media segment today. So this is definitely, and I know I say this all the time and it ends up being long nonetheless because you just cannot close my yapper, but this will truly be your shorter than usual Yapping Yankees episode. But the social media segment, do not fret, will return next week and all the weeks to follow so long as I can, unless something unforeseeable comes up, of course. But also, as far as Yapping Yankees, just another reminder, I am going to be doing every Sunday in a row for the foreseeable future. That includes next Sunday, Father's Day. Because of the fact that of late, not last week and then this week, but before that, I was doing every other week for maybe like 2 episodes or so because I just had so much going on so many Sundays. I was truly so busy, and I just couldn't find time to do an episode. I truly could not. So because of that, I felt bad, and I usually take off on Father's Day, like I do Mother's Day and Easter and a lot of the other big Sunday holidays throughout this time of the calendar year. But because I feel bad that was going on weeks ago, as I said, I am going to be doing an episode for Father's Day next Sunday. And again, barring something unforeseeable coming up, God willing, I will be doing every Sunday through probably, I don't know, September, maybe Labor Day weekend. Maybe I'll take off that Sunday. But other than that, I plan on being here just about every Sunday. Again, unless something unforeseen comes up or I have something really important to do that I just can't help taking off on a particular weekend. But other than that, I'm going to be here every Sunday. No more bi-weekly crap. Even the weekend that I'll be going to my first Yankee game of the year. That's another announcement I wanted to make. For those who might want to go to the ballpark to meet up with me that particular day, I have finally, my God, it took so long, booked tickets for my first game of the 2024 season at Yankee Stadium. It is actually the weekend of the 4th of July, because the 4th of July is on a Thursday this year, unfortunately. Super random. But I will be attending the Yankees-Red Sox game in the Bronx on Saturday, July 6th. I will be there with my lovely girlfriend. So if you want to come over at any point and meet us, if you happen to follow me on Twitter, you can message me. If we happen to already be friends in real life and you have my contact informations, you can reach out to me that way as well. That's totally fine. And I'd love to see you again if I had seen you already before. But for the first time, if it is our first time meeting, I would also love to as well. So just hit me up. Again, Saturday, July 6th. That is when I will be at Yankee Stadium for the first time in 2024, and I hope to make many returns after that, because I did go to a few games last year, but especially once the Yankees fell off, I did not attend anymore. I only had plans to attend originally like one or two after the ones I already did attend earlier in the season, but I just took those off my calendar because I just didn't feel like going for obvious reasons. So that just didn't happen. But be there on July 6th. Because I want to meet some of you. And even though the Red Sox record reflects their midness this year, I just invented a new word, yay me. But anyway, despite how, the Red Sox are not as good this year as they have been in years past, to say the least. Right now, even coming into their game against the White Sox today, they're a game under 500. Nonetheless, I don't care how poorly the Red Sox do, or even the Yankees do. And they both had their rough years. In years past, in the recent past. I don't care how badly either of them looks in a particular matchup. It's still the Yankees and Red Sox, and I want to be there, and it's going to be fun, it's going to be electric, and I usually always try to pick those games or just any high-stake game. I love to go to those games. I'll go to the games sometimes where the Yankees face a crap team, it depends, but those oftentimes, a lot of the time I feel like those happen during the week more so than weekends. But nonetheless, I'm still excited for it. No matter how good or bad the Yankees or Red Sox happen to be at a particular time of any season, I'm looking forward to that game. So be there and let's meet up and have some fun, because I'm looking forward to it. But other than that, guys, what do you say we get down to what is on the docket today? We have a lot to talk about. There is really little to nothing in news that happened this past week, to be honest. Other than some Dominguez and Cole news, Ben Rice getting a promotion up to Triple-A down in the minors, which puts more eyes on Anthony Rizzo for first base, and a lot of people have been talking about it amidst how brutal Anthony Rizzo has continued to look. But something that damn near took us all out happened this past week. I'm not going to make it seem like this past week has been all bad, because it has not been. It has still been a fine week overall, still a winning week going into tonight. Could be a 500 week after tonight if the Yankees lose. But they still happen to start off the week very good, as I anticipated, even said on last week's episode, against the Twins, because how could they not? The Yankees quite literally are the Twins' father. So that's not a surprise. It was really what's happened since after the Twins series. And we'll talk about all the games in recap, of course, before we end today's show. But we were talking about on last week's episode how really the first big injury during the season, there have been other big injuries that have taken place, such as our beloved ace Garrett Cole, who's getting closer and closer to coming back. That's not the point. But during the season, I would say the real first big injury that has happened was the injury to Clark Schmidt, which we spoke about last week because it had only happened a couple of days prior to last week's episode. And I had described it as the baseball gods interfering and saying that the Yankees had to be taken down a notch, more or less. Because the starting rotation was so beyond cracked out. It still is, by the way. And the overall team was just too good. So the baseball gods said that Clark Schmidt shall be the first major sacrifice of the 2024 season during the season for the New York Yankees amidst their unstoppable gameplay. Let him, Mr. Schmidt, be out until probably at least August with a lat strain. And of course, we were all hoping that that was the end of it, because we all realize that we have been very lucky so far in that injury arena for the most part when it comes to the core of our team and the ones who are directly right on the front lines with the Yankees' success, the vast success they've experienced in the first half of the 2024 season here. Let's just hope that they can get by without Clark, and it helps that Cole is not too far down the road. That is what we all said, more or less, after that was announced last week, and what I reiterated more or less on last Sunday's episode. The only issue with that was that God was not done. And yes, before you jump in and intervene and yell at your phone/computer/whatever device screen you are listening on, yes, I realize it is not nearly, thank God, at least as of now, knock on wood, as severe as Clark Schmidt. I understand that. But nonetheless, even without Clark, the Yankees' starting rotation continued down a remarkable path, as did the team as a whole, after the Clark news was given out, because going back to last weekend, the Yankees still managed to finish, of course, a remarkable series in San Francisco when they swept the Giants. They would go on to then, as they always do, own the Twins. So perhaps the Clark sacrifice was not enough. So God looked down upon the New York Yankees. He saw their continued gameplay. He saw that they continued not to lose any games. He saw their overall record constantly getting better and better and better. One win stacked on top of the other. Their remarkable win streaks, a 7-game win streak at one point, and then an 8-game win streak that just wrapped up on Friday. Vast overall success all around. The starting rotation not experiencing any further bumps in the road despite missing Clark Schmidt. And for the first 2.5 months of the season now, even Garrett Cole. Things are continuing down a path that is too righteous for words. Therefore, God looked down on another. Looked down on a megastar, a generational talent. Some may know him by the name of Juan Soto, gracing right field for the New York Yankees, and gracing the entire field almost every time he's at the plate with his vast amount of hits. He knew that since the trade with San Diego this past winter, that this man has been front and center in all of it and said, once again, "Thou shalt be nerfed." Yes, dramatic thunder descended from the heavens. Storm clouds gathered. News broke that Mr. Juan Soto had forearm discomfort. Thus, the entire Yankees fan base descended into complete and utter irrational chaos. Even yours truly, your over-the-top, over-dramatizing Yapping Yankees host, found it difficult to remain rational in times of such duress and nervousness that was surging all throughout the land. Thankfully, news later broke after further imaging was given on Mr. Soto's forearm that it was just a matter of a little inflammation and nothing that maybe a few days of rest and treatment cannot help fix. And since the forearm is attached to the elbow, some people's minds could not help but wander down that road, that dangerous long-term road. But fortunately, and the Yankees have had the tendency to not be completely honest or just not have the best of information with injuries in the past, as we know. But I'm choosing to trust them here because I have to. I have no other choice. The only other choice is an asylum. But I do actually believe them here and say that it will only be a few days. It sucks that it had to be the Dodgers series that he missed of all of them, but it happens. They'll be fine. But it'll just be a few days, rest, treatment, and despite thankfully having the luxury to not have to rush because of the position the team is in, get our star back out onto the field as soon as humanly possible. All right, now that that stupid bit is over, enough of that. To get serious now, finally. And yes, ordinarily, I probably would have waited for the news segment to go in on the Soto news like I usually do when I get to injury or roster news. But, I mean, I think we all know that Soto is so important that it's something you kind of just got to dive right into at the start of the talk. So, and speaking of said importance, nice segue. Granted, it has been only 2 days. I'd like to give a shout out to everyone I had to deal with months and months ago who accused me of over-exaggerating the importance of Juan Soto this winter after the trade went down. I mean, the Yanks got their 8-game sick win streak snapped Friday night, and they were averaging 7 runs a game. 7 runs a game. That's worth repeating. Amidst all the crazy crap that the team has been doing for so long now, amidst that win streak. And then Soto goes down for a couple of days, and look what happens. The proof is in the pudding, guys. All you got to do is watch Yankee baseball since the guy goes down. And again, granted, I know it's only 2 days. I know. And I happen to think the Yankees will actually win tonight. That's not the point. There is definitely a difference the second Juan Soto's taken out of the equation. Now, I'm not saying this series doesn't count virtually because of that. I mean, that's just the circumstances. Soto needs a few days off. It happens to come amidst the Dodgers series. That's what happens sometimes. You get a bad break like that. Still, congrats to the Dodgers for winning the first 2 of this series that we'll talk about in a little bit. So I don't want to take complete credit away from them. But there is also no argument in saying that this team is completely different without Juan Soto. And it's almost like what I said for months over the winter when I had to, for some reason, put up with some insufferable deniers of this for months. All I kept on saying for months on end, right after the trade went down, was that Juan Soto by himself can transform an entire lineup. We've seen that for months now. We're especially seeing it in his absence because, I mean, what's the truth of life in general? You often don't know what you have until it's gone. And that's what a lot of Yankee fans are experiencing right now, especially the deniers amidst missing Soto the last couple of days. I'm glad people are getting to feel it. Maybe now you realize that it really wasn't that big of a deal what the Yankees gave up, and maybe it was worth it perhaps, and maybe I was right about just how important Juan Soto is, and I wasn't overinflating just, quote-unquote, one single player. Sometimes, if the player is iconic enough, yes, they themselves will transform an entire lineup and thereby, likely, the entire team. And Juan Soto's one of those people. I've said it from day one, and I'm choosing again to remain calm and rational and say that I think he will only miss a few days. I think we might see him again in the Royals series coming up next. I don't even think we'll have to wait for the Boston series next weekend, and hopefully if that happens, everybody can calm down. Trust me. When the news originally came out, I was as up in arms and scared as everybody out there. I was trying to keep it composed, and especially after hearing Juan Soto talk himself, usually hearing the players talk about their own injuries themselves is usually what puts me at ease a little bit. So when I heard the way that Juan Soto was talking about and he legitimately thought that it wasn't a big deal at all, I felt a bit more at ease, and I still do think that even if it's not tomorrow right away, an immediate turnaround, I do think we'll be seeing Soto again in the Royals series, and towards the start of it, maybe in the second game, I don't know. Or maybe tomorrow. Maybe it is as soon as tomorrow. They said just a few days, and he's missed the whole weekend already. I don't think he's going to be in the lineup tonight. Lineups haven't come out just yet. at the time I've been recording, so I'd be shocked if he's in the lineup tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's available, possibly available. But that's the moral of the story, guys. Listen, Soto has been downright incredible. You don't need me to tell you that. If you've been watching even just 2 minutes a day of Yankee baseball, you've probably seen it yourself at one point or another, even if you've been watching that little of it. That's how amazing he is. He has an immediate and extreme impact on any game he's in. And you see the difference the second he's taken out of it. So, even though the Yankees are probably going to be playing without him again tonight, which I imagine they are, I'm still thinking they're going to win, mainly because Luis Gil's pitching, and he's basically interim Garrett Cole, as I started to refer to him as last week or the week before that. But I'm sure he's going to absolutely shut down the Dodgers tonight. I'm just really confident in that, not just because the Yankees lost the first 2 games, and I think they'll salvage a game, which I do think in general already. I just think Luis Gil is going to lead him there. I think the offense will do just enough, and we'll see the Yankees end an otherwise rough series on a high note, actually, and then hit the road to head to Kansas City and then Boston to follow, as I mentioned before, which are the games they have coming up this week. But yeah, we'll hit a little bit more on Soto later on, but with the dramatic effect early on and some of my thoughts already, that is probably the biggest thing that happened this past week. In a week that was honestly very, very slow and not eventful at all in news as far as roster and injury, aside from just usual updates from people who have already been hurt for a while. As far as new things happening, not too much to report on at all. So Soto is really the massive, massive piece of news this past week. Also, aside from that, another big thing that happened this past week with this Dodgers series, and it is worth noting, because it is quite a big deal, the fact that it took until almost mid-June for this to happen to the Yankees, and it's a testament to how great they've done. This weekend against the Dodgers, after losing yesterday, and in pretty embarrassing fashion, punches in the mouth happen, we've established that, the Yankees have officially, finally lost their first home series this year. Like I said, it was bound to happen eventually. And actually, on top of that, it was their first series loss, period, at all, since the O's series in Baltimore that started in the last few days of April, because they didn't lose a single series in the month of May, and they hadn't so far in June. So the last time they lost a series, period, end of April. First series they lost since then, too. So it's just a remarkable run of winning or evening up series that was... It was bound to come to an end eventually. But they had a couple of series that they evened up. They evened up series against the Mariners and the A's at Yankee Stadium, 4-game sets, but otherwise they won every single other home series since the start of the season. And like I said, since the O's series in Baltimore, they've won every series, period, not just home series. Been really doing great amidst their 7-game win streak a while back and their 8-game win streak that just wrapped up and all the winning done in between and afterwards. It's just, well, not really after they haven't won a game since it snapped on Friday, the 8-game winning streak, but you get what I mean. It's just been absolutely incredible what the Yankees have accomplished. A lot of people were really up in arms when the win streak ended on Friday, and then, of course, they lost again yesterday, and it wasn't a pretty loss. Honestly, like I said, it was bound to come to an end, and in my opinion, it's only because it's the Dodgers being here and all the pomp and circumstances going on as a result of these two teams matching up, all the excitement, all the anticipation, all the Dodgers fans marching down the road in the Bronx yesterday. I think there was like some 5,000-odd fans there or something like that, right? When the Dodger fans had their little march right near Yankee Stadium. So it's just because of all the anticipation, all the pressure that's built up, and obviously not having Soto in the lineup doesn't help anything, but I think it's just because of the Dodgers that everyone's making a big deal about it. But honestly, other than that, again, congrats to them for winning the series. I do think the Yankees will bounce back and win tonight. And with everybody just talking about whether or not these two teams will meet later on in the playoffs, meaning, well, the World Series, if that does happen, well, that'll be the matchup that truly matters and not a random matchup in the middle of June when the Yankees happen to be kicking ass. And so do the Dodgers. Dodgers are having themselves a fine season. I think they're only about 3 or 4 games worse than the Yankees as far as overall record. So both teams are fantastic in the top 3. I'd say the top 3 teams in baseball would be the Yankees, the Phillies, and the Dodgers, if I had to say right now, overall record and talent-wise. But it's been a good series for the Dodgers. Hopefully the Yankees, again, salvage a game tonight. That's what I'm thinking will happen. Not saying it's an automatic, but I think Luis Gil's going to have himself a very nice start and will lead the Yankees to victory, hopefully. That's the hope before hitting the road and going into a tough series against the Royals. And I know it's been a long time since I've been able to say a weird statement like that, a tough series against the Royals. Well, the Bobby Witt Jr.-led Royals happen to be quite a problem this year, actually. They're 39-27. They're no joke. So the Yankees playing 4 games there in the next few days should definitely be quite interesting. And we'll see what happens there. But overall, guys, the overall team overview as of this past week, well, aside from the Soto news and obviously how fantastic Judge continues to do, just a couple of quick thoughts, I suppose. Verdugo continues to do okay. Still fantastic in left field. Didn't get a good read on a fly ball, I believe it was yesterday. So that was a little odd. But otherwise, the guy has played a fantastic left field. I really can't complain. So, I mean, I'm still fine with Verdugo. The only thing is, it's still so tough, man. And we're going to get to him again in a minute in news, because there is more news on his minor league / rehabbing progress and whatnot, but the Yankee outfield situation right now is really complicated, speaking of Verdugo and whatnot, because Dominguez is just continuing to kill it down in the minors, and that makes things really tough, because right now, I think we could all agree on the fact that no matter how good a thing the Yankees have going, which, yes, it's a very good problem to have, I've said that before and I'll say it again, absolutely a good problem. But my God, does it also complicate things, because I don't think anybody's going to argue right now that Jason Dominguez belongs in the major leagues, for crying out loud. And it's emphasized even more based off of what he's continuing to do down in the minors. The kid is ready to go. And he is just tearing the cover off of the baseball every single day. Which is very tough to watch, because he could be doing that up here. It's just, again, a good problem, but kind of a problem nonetheless. It's a little annoying. But, I mean, we spoke about it on the show some weeks ago, I believe, what could happen. I definitely think that if you were to bring him up, he would have to DH a bit. Not only because there's no room for him in the outfield, but also you want to protect his arm a little bit since he's just coming off of Tommy John. Let's not forget about that crucial fact. But, I mean, I would. It's tough, though, because, you know, you also don't want to interrupt what the Yankees have going with Verdugo right now, because Verdugo has a really good thing going here right now. But, I mean, it's also a matter of doing what's best for the team, and Dominguez would be amongst the best hitters on the team alongside Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, and that's just really tough to turn away regardless of personal feelings with Verdugo and how well he's done here. But, I mean, maybe you DH him some days, give Stanton a day off, because there are a lot of days where Stanton is just not doing much of anything. I think overall, his overall season, he could be doing a lot worse, but he could definitely be doing better too. He's hitting a good amount of home runs, but just overall, on an overall basis, he's doing fine. I don't think he's doing brutal. He has his brutal days and his brutal at-bats, but that's just going to be him. Not that it's an excuse, but I definitely think my point is that he could be doing a lot worse. I think a lot of people are over-dramatizing how bad he's doing. But I'd be willing to sit him at times if it meant Jason Dominguez just completely tearing crap up. Definitely would be willing to do that. And on days where you want Stanton in there, maybe you put Dominguez out there some days, try him in left field, or put him in center and move Judge over to left. I think Judge can handle left. Keep Soto in right. It's tough, but I find it tougher and tougher every day that I continue to listen to how amazing Jason Dominguez is doing, and knowing that he belongs up here. It's just tough to sit on your hands while that keeps on happening. It's really tough. I don't know, man. It's a tough decision. I don't envy the Yankees having to make that choice. I know he's going to continue to stay down in the minors probably as long as the Yankees have what they have going with Verdugo and whatnot, but it is tough. My goodness. So, yeah, that basically hammers out Verdugo and Stanton. Then you have Volpe. He's continuing to do fine. Average still over 280, well over 280 coming into today. He's doing himself a fine job. Yeah, definitely save those two for last. DJ LeMahieu. I'm trying to be patient. I really am. I understand bro just got back. I completely get it. it's tough to watch DJ. It really, really is. I'm trying to be patient. I'm trying to stay with it. I'm really trying my best here. It's hard. Because the dude cannot lift the ball. He cannot get the ball in the air. And even when he does, it's no threat. Always pounding the ball right into the ground. I feel like the definition of what the last 2 to 3 years have been for DJ for the most part is what happened on Friday night. I think he came up with first and second, 1 out, or bases loaded and 1 out, something along those lines, where the Yankees had a great chance to finally break through and score on Friday night when they just could not get ahead of themselves. And he just first pitch just pounds it right into the ground and right into a double play. And he's slow as molasses, so he's not running anything out. The defense is still really good, and that's what you hang your hat on at least. It's more than you can say about Gleyber Torres. But it's just really hard. Because I still can't comprehend how hard and far this guy fell since he signed the contract. It's unreal, especially 2022. And last year up until like the last month. And now so far what we've seen this year. And all the injuries in between with the foot and the toe and whatnot. It's just been so bad. And he really still, again, I know he hasn't been back for long, but in the time he has been back, he really hasn't shown me too much of anything still. He's had his good defensive plays, but that's it. And I do appreciate that, but that is it at the end of the day. Because of how shortly he has been back, how short of a time it's been, I am willing to continue my patience for a bit longer, as opposed to some other people that I will mention in a second. But I'm having a tough time watching him. I really am. I gotta be honest. Not happy with the DJ LeMahieu situation whatsoever. And honestly, it's had an effect that I was afraid of this entire time. It's made me miss Oswaldo a lot. I know Oswaldo came back down to earth for the most part, leading up to the days that DJ returned and whatnot, but he was still doing his good stuff. He had his days where he was a little weird defensively, I won't deny that, but he was still making his fine plays out there every once in a while. He could play absolutely anywhere in the infield, any of the 4 positions, and he'll still give you a clutch hit every now and again. He's just a good guy to have around, and I miss him. I'm going to be honest, I miss Oswaldo. So that's the deal with that. The catching tandem's still fine. I think Trevino's bat has come back down to earth a little bit. Austin Wells at times just continues to not get the results that the numbers of hard hits off the bat claim that he should be getting. But it's still fine. I think they got it going good back there defensively at the very least. I still think that certain guys like Jahmai Jones off the bench are just simply taking up a spot because you don't see a guy like Jahmai Jones unless it's like a late game pinch running substitution. And Trent, you barely get to see. You've seen Trent a lot this weekend. Grisham with Soto being out. I mean, yeah, he had the home run the other day. I believe it was in the Twins series, but I mean, if it's not for a home run once a month, give or take, since he'll show occasional flashes of power from the left side of the plate, and some good defense, you're not really getting anything out of Trent, obviously, so there's not much to say there. We already know how crazy Soto's been, and obviously Judge. Judge is probably going to, even with just a hit or two tonight, have his average hit 300, which, again, considering where he started out in the first few weeks, to say it's incredible is just beyond an understatement. 298 average coming into today with a 1,117 OPS.
Holy crap!
Yeah, I know. Oh, gosh, but that's Judge. That is him, man. And even though the 2 home runs didn't mean too much, I mean, the first one did because it tied the game at 2 at the time, but the second one rather really did nothing because it was late in the game when they were already down by 10-plus runs. But it was his 23rd home run that he hit yesterday, the second home run of the game. 23 home runs. I don't really know what to even say about the guy anymore. I mean, he's on pace to repeat 2022. Which is incomprehensible because nobody who's ever had his season, which is only a handful of them in the history of the game, and many of them took steroids, never even managed to replicate that a second time, and Judge is in the middle of doing that right now. What else can you say? I don't really know. It's freaking remarkable. The 2 guys that I wanted to, unfortunately, save for last, though, And despite my continued optimism and not letting these prior 2 Dodger games get to me, and thinking that the Yankees will still manage to be totally fine, there are 2 guys who I have to unfortunately be pessimistic about, because you have to acknowledge they're a problem despite how good the Yankees are doing, and that's okay to do. Don't let anyone make you feel like that even if the Yankees are doing good and a lot of the good that they've done have masked a lot of these problems, that it's not okay to bring them up. It is okay to bring them up. It's perfectly fine. But I'm just going to be very blunt and honest right now. And some people may think this to be a bit of an over-exaggeration given how the Yankees have done. Or maybe you're in my camp and you've realized these problems have been going on. Maybe you swept them under the rug for a little bit amidst all of the good, but it especially rears its ugly heads when the bad happens. But you've been feeling it the entire time and you just feel the need to bring it up nonetheless. Well, that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm just going to come out and say it. The Yankees need to change the right side of their infield. Pretty incredible when you think about where we were at with this, with the infield just a couple of years ago. The discussion at that point was that the Yankees had to change the entire left side of the infield. You remember when that was going on in 2022, and the Yankees stupidly had IKF playing shortstop every day, and they had Josh Donaldson down at third base. The left side of the infield was what needed revamping there, and now it's the right side. Because I have mentioned these 2 time and again throughout the entire season up until now, was willing to be patient with them both, especially our first baseman, because he has earned that respect since he has been here now. But I think that time has begun to come to an end. And I've made an official announcement on X or Twitter as of yesterday. That was the first time I ever referred to it as X first. Very interesting there. But I made an announcement on it last night, and I'm sticking by it as of today, even after I've cooled off a bit after last night's game. And that declaration is that I officially want Gleyber Torres off the New York Yankees. The 2 big errors that he had the last couple of days are just a couple of an endless list of incomprehensible, beyond frustrating mistakes that Gleyber Torres has made throughout his entire young career that no longer can be excused in my eyes. I'm tired of using the excuses that Gleyber's still young, he still has learning to do, he's still yet to mature, he's still adjusting to the league and making his own adjustments. He had a good year last year, which I will acknowledge, fine. But I'm tired of making excuses for a guy who, other than 2023 and 2019, around the time he first came up, honestly, has really just not had a good career, if you want me to be really honest with you. Just has not really had a good career, more often than not. I've grown completely tired of making excuses for a kid who is going to be 28 years old at the end of this year, couple of years off 30, and in this league now for his 7th season. He's not a kid anymore. He's not a rookie anymore. These excuses have expired. I think I have been more than patient with this kid. I said that I would give him until June 1st on an overall basis, and then not long before that, he decided to heat up, and now in the last few days, he's decided to cool right back off again, as I knew he would, and now he's making his same stupid mistakes all over again that I've really tried to be patient for over the years, guys, but I have finally thrown in the towel. I'm done with Gleyber. I'm done. I'm sorry. I've had enough. I've really had enough. The nonchalant, trotting over-the-shoulder catches as he goes into short right field, just straight up dropping it like I feel like he's going to do every time. Most of the time he makes that play, but I was just been waiting lately for it to happen again, him dropping the ball, and it happened the other day. Yesterday, botching a routine ground ball. The nonchalant gameplay, he has just not done enough to warrant it. He really hasn't. I think he thinks he's Robinson Cano, who is also very nonchalant at second base. Only thing was that Robinson Cano was actually a good baseball player, and he still made fantastic plays amidst him being nonchalant. Gleyber has made some great plays, which makes it all the more baffling of the completely routine ones that he often completely botches, only for the fact of a lack of focus and laziness, in my opinion. And I really don't like to go down that route of calling a player lazy. I seldom ever do it, but it's the case with Gleyber. I'm sorry. He just doesn't have his head in the game. He hasn't for a long time. I think 2023 may have just been the first outlier since 2019, but I'm out of patience for him. I'm out of it. And the Yankees have better options. Even though I just got done talking about how watching DJ has been very frustrating, just get Waldo back out there, honestly. Either put Waldo at second or put DJ at second and put the other at third and just sit Gleyber. I don't know what else to say. If you want to wait till the All-Star break to do it, then I guess wait till the All-Star break or the trade deadline. Like, maybe if you could find a way to get rid of him via trade so he just doesn't walk for nothing at the end of the year. But honestly, if Gleyber walks for nothing at the end of the year and he keeps on playing the way he is, well, then I guess that wouldn't be that awful either, because how high really could his value be anyway? I mean, I look at his numbers even. I just don't see the appeal. And I really don't like talking like this about players on the Yankees. I really don't, truly. But he just doesn't do anything well. I'm sorry. Like, usually when one part of the game is lacking, the other could pick it up and people could tolerate it. But all aspects of Gleyber's game are just failing completely and spectacularly. The average is under 230. The OPS is not even 650. He has 5 home runs. His power has just vanished. Vanished. He also only has like 20 RBIs, maybe like 21. And we're almost in mid-June, guys. It's just not getting any better. He had those couple of weeks there where he was really tearing it up, like the bat started to wake up finally. It's about freaking time. But even of late, it's gone back to sleep a little bit. Like in the last 7 games, I'm even looking on the MLB app right now. Last 7 games, average is down to 208. Like, it's just not it. It's not it at all. So I don't really know what else to say. Last 15 games, his average is 255 with an on-base of 316, which still isn't great. I mean, I don't know. The defense is putrid, especially because he goes out there looking like he just doesn't care, and he plays like he doesn't care when he's out in the field. Makes these stupid errors. Terrible base runner. Like, there's no redeeming qualities anymore. Like, what happened to this kid? This kid was number 1 in the country at one point. And outside of a good start to his career, like very beginning, like 2018 into 2019, and most of last year, I gotta be honest, like, what a failure. It pains me to talk this way because, like, through the years, there were really lots of periods of time where you could see Gleyber's talent. And it just looked like he was, like, holding himself back because he didn't put his all into it. And it's really frustrating. He could have been the second baseman and been a big part of this team alongside guys like Judge and Dominguez and now Soto and all these other big guys. He could have been right there with them for the next God knows how many years. If he was doing just well right now, if he was doing solid, there would be an argument to be made to at least extend him a little bit. Now, I can't get him off this team fast enough. And that's a tragedy, considering what we all thought this guy would be. It really is a shame. It really, really is. And I cannot begin to say how disappointed in him I am. I'm beyond disappointed in what his career turned out to be. It's been a failure. I'm sorry. It's been a failure. All the crap from second base to shortstop, back to second, and throughout most of it, the bat just not being there. And the stupid mistakes, the lapses in judgment, the lack of focus, the lack of just determination or just real effort, honestly, at times. Horrible base running. I mean, just go on and on. It's just ridiculous. Really is a shame. Very sad about it, honestly, but I'm done with Gleyber. That's the announcement, more or less. I'm through with him. whatever happens at this point, honestly, obviously I wish him the best. I don't wish bad on the guy. I still think Gleyber himself is a very nice person. I think he's very genuine. Seems very sweet. Every interview he has, I've even watched him stream before. He seems like a very nice, down-to-earth guy, but as far as a player, I just don't want him on the team anymore. I'm sorry. Being a nice guy only gets you so far when you're talking about how you perform at your job. I just don't care to make that or any other excuses for him anymore, and I've officially thrown the towel in on him. I'm done. So that's the latest on that. Tired of Gleyber. And speaking of the rest of the right side of the infield, I've just about hit that point with Rizzo too, but I'm choosing to elect for a bit more patience with him, only because of what he managed to accomplish for most of his time on the Yankees so far has been awesome, and I'm giving him that respect now amidst him just being a nightmare for a long time now on the Yankees. For over a month, he has not hit a home run. It feels like he doesn't even hit the ball out of the infield anymore. He is a complete and utter pop-up merchant. He does nothing but pop up. Nothing but pop up. Really, really frustrating. His average is down to 224, guys. His OPS is even lower than Gleyber's at 624. He has 7 home runs the whole year, only a couple more than Gleyber, and 25 RBIs. You look at even the last 15 games, and even the last 30 games. You guys ready for these numbers? I mean, for a guy who is as good as Rizzo, to read these numbers out to you is almost... not almost, it's completely surreal. In his last 30 games, ready for this? He's 22 for his last 116. That's a 190 batting average. His on base in that time is 240, and his slugging is 267. In the last 15 games, he is 7 for his last 58. 121 average is what that turns out to be. 161 on base, and a 155 slugging. The slugging is worse than the on base. How often do you hear that? Last 7 games, his average is 0.34 with an 0.67 on base and 0.69 slugging. He is 1 for his last 29. He has not hit a home run since the beginning of May. And the defense, at times, is still baffling, which is the thing that I expected the least. If anything, I thought that his glove would maintain. But even that has been more than questionable so far this year. And if not for what he has accomplished throughout his career and in his time on the Yankees up until that collision with Fernando Tatis Jr. last year, my patience would be run out with him already. But as of now, I'm trying to hang in there with it. It's not easy. But I don't know how much more leash I give him. But Anthony Rizzo has been, if those numbers didn't describe it to you, I don't know what will, a colossal issue. And it's sad to say, it really is, because I've said it many times before and I'll say it again. I happen to really like Anthony Rizzo, and I think he's had an incredible career overall, let alone for first baseman. And it makes me sad to see someone just decline this much. He's 34 going on 35. I would think that he would at least have another couple of years in him, but it's starting not to look that way. He might very well be washed. As I said, he might be earlier on in the season, but then later, April into May, he started to go on that tear again. I'm like, oh, maybe Rizzo does have some left in the tank, but that might have been the last drop of gas. I don't know. It's really, really sad. I'd probably give him until, I don't know, maybe the first week of July. Maybe until, I mean, at that point, if you hit that point, he's still playing. Maybe just till the All-Star break. Because, again, his contract is up after this year. You're probably not going to exercise the option. So, if that's the deal, then he's going to walk anyway. And this leads to what I was saying before about Ben Rice. If you don't know who Ben Rice is, he's a really solid player in the Yankees system who recently just got a promotion from Double-A to Triple-A and is on his way and is doing a fantastic job down in the minors. He is a really tall, nice-sized catcher slash first baseman, and a very good one at that, batting lefty, throwing righty. He's 25 years old, so, I mean, I think now is as good a time to try to get him up here ASAP as any. And if Rizzo's going to continue down this path, and Ben Rice is going to be doing well down in AAA, if he continues to do a fantastic overall job, I'd probably be tempted to pull the trigger on that sooner rather than later. I don't even really care if it's a rush at this point, because let's say the Yankees do make it to the playoffs, which I do think they will be doing at this point, regardless of how far they actually go ultimately. I do think they're going to be making it. If Rizzo is even a fraction as bad as he has been so far this year, come that point, you simply can't go into the playoffs with that. Is he a great leader? Is he a great veteran to have around? Is he Judge's best friend? Yes, all of those things are true. All those boxes checked off. But that doesn't mean it's right to go into the playoffs when he's doing the way he's doing. It doesn't hold up. It's been so bad with him that it's impossible to ignore no matter how good things are with the Yankees. And it has to be mentioned that at this point as we head into mid-June. It's going to be June 16th next week when we speak again. The season's flying by as it always does. Even tonight, when it comes to where we are on the season, this is game number 67 tonight. The season's flying, as I always say, it always does. And I guess it's a matter of personal opinion as to how long you're willing to give Rizzo to get this right. And as much as it hurts me to say, I think I got to give him till July. If nothing's going on by July, by around the All-Star break or maybe even a little bit before it, I'm going to take a look at how Ben Rice is still doing down in AAA since he recently got his well-deserved promotion. And I may or may not be compelled to pull the trigger on the switch and just put Rizzo on the bench. I don't know, but something's got to give here. It's tough. It's really hard to watch Rizzo go through this, and it's detrimental to the Yankee lineup, especially when he's right in the middle of it. It's just not convenient at all. It's not fair to the rest of the team, too, especially the ones doing great, that right in the middle of the lineup, you got an auto out. It's just not good. So that's what I meant before when the Yankees have to, I think they got to look into getting the right side of their infield right. See how Rizzo does in the coming weeks, how he continues to do. Keep an eye on Ben Rice. And when it comes to Gleyber Torres, they have plenty of other options, like I said. Get Waldo back out there, whether it means putting Waldo at second or putting DJ at second and Waldo back at third like he was doing while DJ was out. Even in the minors, you got guys like Yorbit Vivas. You got guys like Oswald Peraza, who's been waiting a long time. They're all waiting down there, too. You have a bunch of internal options, let alone additional external options if you want to look that way when it comes to second base. So how long are you willing to put up with it? For Rizzo, my patience will go on a bit longer. For Gleyber, I'm tapped out. That's the latest update on that. Now, all of that can be true. You could be displeased with how certain people are doing on the team. You could be upset that Soto missed this weekend, but honestly, they have the luxury to be able to do what is best long-term for the player because of the position the team is in. Be happy about that. That's not a position the Yankees have always found themselves in the recent past. Because of how good they're doing, they don't have to rush Cole back. They don't have to rush Soto. They don't have to rush Schmidt even for the time that he's going to miss. They don't have to rush anything right now. They also haven't had to rush Jason Dominguez at all because of it. We were all terribly missing him and still do miss him. But we all thought that we would need him back much quicker, much more immediately. But that's not the case. The team's doing fantastic. So these are things that we can stick with for a while longer so that we can make sure the Yankees make what truly is the best decision for everybody. That's the good thing about putting yourself in a good position from jump in the first half of the season. So honestly, kudos to the Yankees for continuing on that path. I think they will continue to do great. Like I said, I think they're going to win tonight. Hope tonight's a really good game. I think he will have himself a fine start, and they'll go from there. I think splitting in Kansas City wouldn't be the worst thing. I would like definitely at least a series win against the Red Sox next weekend, because the Red Sox are really nothing to write home about this year. But we'll see. I'm still overall optimistic, very optimistic about this team, especially once Soto comes back, because what's not to be optimistic about when that happens, especially. So my point is, again, don't let anybody, as a fan, tell you that just because things are going well, you still can't acknowledge the couple of things that are wrong, as long as the things you're mentioning are valid. But if they are valid, don't let anybody tell you, because I see this on social media all the time, like, oh, shut up, the Yankees are doing great, stop complaining all the time. Well, that's not complaining. It's acknowledging that there are a couple of things that could use some fixing despite how well they're doing, and especially when you're talking about problems that are as big as Gleyber and especially Anthony Rizzo, you're allowed to do that. You're plenty allowed. And that's what I'm doing here today. Acknowledging that the right side of the Yankee infield could definitely use some changes, and in the very near future at that. While overall, on an overall basis, being very happy with the team still. First 2 games against the Dodgers, yeah, it sucks, but you know what? They just got off of an 8-game winning streak prior to that. They'd never lost a series at home this year up until then, and they haven't lost a series period in over a month. I really can't complain. I'm just being as rational as possible and as level-headed as possible there. The losses suck. Last night was embarrassing. Yeah, it's whatever. It happens. The best of teams of all time have gotten punched in the mouth at least once in a big league season. It's a long freaking year with a lot of freaking games. So, gotta learn to roll with the punches, you know? I can definitely have a tendency to be pessimistic when it comes to baseball overall, even with the Yankees at times, depending on what's going on, what the situation is, what the Yankees have been doing lately. A lot of factors. But here, with them being where they are, I don't understand how you could possibly be like that. The overall mindset's got to be positive, even though there are still some issues you could call out and draw some attention to. But overall, man, I'm still liking what I see. And we'll continue to talk about it when we get to weekly recap in a second. But let's go over Yankees news real quick, because there's really little to nothing to talk about at all in that arena, like I said. It's actually very funny. Right when I move on to news, just about 10 minutes ago, I'd missed it 10 minutes ago, but the Yankees had actually just announced another roster move literally just a few minutes ago. So that's really cool. Almost like some breaking news here on Yapping Yankees. I've had so many instances of that in my 5 years doing this show. Over 220 episodes later. I still got to give myself a pat on the back for all that, guys. I'm sorry. But nonetheless, the Yankees have finally, and I'm very, very happy to read this, W roster move, honestly. And it's something that I actually said that they should do about a week or two ago, so it's late, but better late than never, as they always say. The Yankees have finally decided, I guess last night was the straw that broke the camel's back with them, I don't know. They have finally decided to DFA Dennis Santana in the bullpen and call up Ron Marinaccio again. Now, if you would have told me that I would have been happy about Ron Marinaccio coming back up just a few months ago, I would have accused you of being high on crack. But we all know how eager I've been to actually see him again since his last bout up here, because he did that good of a job, and I was really pleasantly surprised. The first couple of outings coming back up were rough again. He was a little bit all over the place again, like we had seen for over a year plus, since he was, prior to that, amongst the best relievers in baseball, which makes Ron Marinaccio's career necessary to study. But honestly, because of how good he ended up doing in his last bout up here, I wanted to see him again. And he's clearly the better option. A lot of people are better options than Dennis Santana, who I just couldn't trust as far as I could throw him. So I guess now that only leaves one guy remaining in the bullpen that I just really don't like that much at all, and that's Caleb Ferguson. Because the two guys I really couldn't trust out there were Ferguson and Santana's been DFA'd. Now he might not necessarily be picked up, of course, but at the very least he'll be off the 40-man, outrighted back to the minors, if anything. And if the Yankees absolutely need him, I guess they could just bring him up to the active roster again at some point, but hopefully that's not necessary. Ron's back up here, hopefully for the foreseeable future, if he is still the Ron that we saw in his last bout, which I hope he is, because that'd be awesome. But yeah, this is definitely a move that should have happened a couple of weeks ago. I'm glad it's finally happened. So that was just announced. And then the only other thing really was on Tuesday, a few announcements made. Gerrit Cole had started his rehab assignment with AA Somerset, as we knew, because I had said last Sunday it was announced that that would happen. So he did make his start on Tuesday. Finally, so great to see Gerrit back on a mound for a live game of any kind. And he threw 45 pitches, went 3 1/3 scoreless, so he got 10 people out, with 5 strikeouts. So half his outs were strikeouts, shutout, worked efficiently, the velo was there. It's really good stuff. And actually today, he's having his second start in Somerset once again. And yesterday, he had an interview on the Fox broadcast last night, and they had him on a headset during the game, and he actually said that his stuff and his overall command even exceeded his own expectations, and we all know how much Gerrit Cole expects of himself. And that it's just a matter of building up at this point, increasing that pitch count to the point where they feel like he's in a good place to come back up and start in a major league game and throw at least a respectable amount of pitches. So that means he's really getting closer, man. If you could build him up into the 80s, I would say, even if that takes another couple of starts, I don't care. Again, no rush. No rush. You want to give him a couple more starts? Fine. If that gets him up to 75, 80 pitches, which I think is the target, then I would say Cole maybe has another week and a half until he comes back. Some people have been saying over and over again that he could be back in Boston next weekend. And hey, listen, that'd be great. But all I'm saying is that if that's not the case, then that's okay, in my opinion. That's okay. Let him build as much as he needs to until he's comfortable, ready to go. Don't risk anything. There's no need to. And then just rock and roll from there, my friends. That's really it. So I think I've heard he's been doing pretty good in his Somerset start today so far. Haven't really checked in on it all that much, but just hearing that he's starting out there again brings a smile to my face, man. And amidst that news about Gerrit, the Yankees had actually also extended Jason Dominguez's rehab assignment an extra 10 days as of that day and transferred him to AAA. And again, as he just continues to tear the cover off the ball. I already spoke about him earlier, so I won't repeat myself, but it just gets harder and harder to listen to how well he's doing down there without wanting him to just be up here where he objectively belongs, because it is where he belongs, guys. I mean, we can't keep lying to ourselves. It's just a tough predicament that the Yankees find themselves in because of the terrific left field defense and even what he's contributed offensively when it comes to Alex Verdugo, how difficult that is. Soto is obviously in right. Judge is obviously in center. So the Yankee outfield is stacked up right now, and it's tough to really interrupt what they have going, but I have to figure something out. Maybe the suggestion I had earlier. I don't know. Figure it out, though. And then, obviously, there was the news with Soto that I spent much of the first part of the show going over, so I need not repeat. But again, the latest, I suppose, that I would say to expect him in the Royals series. So that's just my best guess, because nothing has come out today as of yet at the time that I'm recording. But otherwise, throughout the rest of the roster when it comes to other injury news, still status quo really when we spoke about Nick Birdie last week, just that hip inflammation problem, man. Just a flare-up of that issue that was the same reason he went on the IL earlier in the year, and he received that injection we spoke about. Clark is still on his no-throw. Infielder John Birdie, well, they're saying that possibly late July he could be back. If anything, he's in a walking boot. And again, his recovery time from the point of injury was said to be about 6 to 8 weeks. So he had a PRP injection himself, which is what Nick Birdie got on May 28th. He had that as well. So he's just in a walking boot right now and going through the process, man. So other than that, then you have Jason Dominguez, who we went over, and Scott F. Ross. He's continuing to throw. He's been doing live batting practice sessions, and they like the momentum that he's been building. So really, I guess the latest on him is that he continues to make progress, although there's no date for him to start his official rehab assignment as of yet. But I'm looking forward to that, man, because F. Ross has been out for a long, long time, well over a year now, and didn't look bad when we did see him briefly in the bullpen before he had to go down for Tommy John, and now he's had these back problems. So when he does finally return, I'm very interested to see what he's got and how he could help out the bullpen. It's very interesting. And then other than JT Brubaker, who obviously the Yankees acquired from the Pirates some time ago, a couple of months ago, he's continuing to throw his live batting practices as well. But then you have Lou Trevino, who has still not resumed throwing as of the last week or so. So that's not good. We're probably just not going to see him again. And if we do, it's not going to be for a long time. So that's basically the latest in injury news, guys, and what's happened with the roster. Like I said, not too much at all to report in news for this past week. Bit of a slow week, other than continued news on Jason and Cole, and then you had what happened with Soto. Other than that, in the roster move that just happened like 10, 15 minutes ago with Ron Marinaccio and Dennis Santana, not a lot to report. So the only thing left to do for today is the weekly recap. Talk about this past week's action. Yapping Yankees Time Machine, let's go. Well, my friends, this will be a quicker one because obviously we know the games of this past week featured the Yankees and the Twins and also the Dodgers as of Friday and yesterday, and today's game is yet to even happen. It's going to be happening later tonight, well after I have recorded already. And this episode should be out not too long after the Yankees and Dodgers game ended tonight. But again, just keep in mind that I do not know the result of that because I'm taping hours beforehand. Even though you're hearing it after the game's concluded, don't let that mess with your head. But as of this past week, again, we start with Tuesday after the incredible end to the Giants series that we finished last Sunday going nuts over. Monday, the Yankees were off. And then Tuesday, they came home. They arrived back in New York to face the Minnesota Twins for another round of just straight up spanking, I guess you could say. But again, I had a feeling the Yankees would sweep them this series, and I wasn't surprised when it happened, but it didn't make it any less fun. Luis Gil started this one as he is starting tonight, and he just had another fantastic outing. 6 shutout innings of 1 hit ball, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, drove the ERA down to 182 after advancing to an 8-1 record. Canely allowed the only run of the game. Hamilton pitched a shutout inning. Weaver did as well to end the game. And the offense did what they had to do. This was actually, at the start of the week, last real thing that Gleyber did. To be honest, that was worth of note. A home run that just got out in right field. But he hit a solo shot to get the Yankees going in the bottom of the second. That made it 1-0, just his 5th homer of the year. Judge 2-run double in the bottom of the third made it 3-0. And then when the Yankees were up 3-1 in the bottom of the 8th, a Stanton 2-run shot put them up 5-1, his 15th of the year. And that would be the final. Yankees beat the Twins in the series opener by a score of 5-1. On Wednesday, it'd be a bit more interesting. Next couple of days would be more high scoring. Starting this game was Mr. Carlos Rodon. He went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs, just 3 hits, no walks, and struck out 9. And as a matter of fact, he took a perfect game into the 6th inning of this game. So the Twins were being very much kept off the board. The Yankees had a massive 8-0 lead at the time. Rodon was just shutting them down. But then after he gave up the first hit, he started to fall apart a little bit. Gave up a couple of runs, but he managed to get out of it without giving up any more, so it was still kept under control. But I thought he'd go at least well beyond 6, even if he didn't sustain the perfect game because he was looking that good. But he really had a struggle after he gave up that hit there. Must have just thrown him off. And he barely even made it out of the 6th, to be honest with you. But still made it through 6, got the win, got his 8th win himself. So the Yankees have multiple 8-game winners in the rotation here in early June. It's pretty freaking cool, and another testament to how cracked out this rotation is, as I've been saying for weeks on end now. Can't get enough of it. But Dennis Santana, after that, gave up 3 more runs of his own, which was what allowed the Twins to creep a little closer, even though the Yankees had their monster lead. So Santana continued to suck, and Michael Tonkin pitched a scoreless frame, and Tonkin's actually been phenomenal. Tonkin so far as a Yankee, believe it or not, outside of that Milwaukee outing in extra innings where the Yankees really just did the worst thing possible for him when he had just arrived with the team, ever since then, he's been really good. It's really, really something. ERA under 2 since he's gotten here. Pretty amazing what Matt Blake is capable of, man. Anyone who says that man does nothing, they just simply have no idea what they're talking about. Just got to be honest. If you're going to dispute the difference in pitching numbers overall since he's become the pitching coach, I mean, just look them up for yourself. They're all over the internet, man. And just look at all these no-names that the Yankees acquire for the bullpen and what they turn into for the first time in their careers when they come here. Just the evidence is right in front of you if you don't believe it. but just incredible. And the Yankee offense, again, just started off going crazy right off the bat. 4 runs in the first inning, and another 4 in the 5th inning, and another in the 6th inning. Judge had 5 RBIs with going 1 for 3 in this one. Even Gleyber drove in a couple of runs, which is, that's when you know. But Judge started out the scoring on an RBI ground out, Stanton RBI single, Gleyber 2-run ground rule double. And then in the bottom of the 5th, Aaron Judge 3-run bases clearing triple, his first triple of the year. His 1 hit on the day amounting to his 5 RBIs. Verdugo with a sac fly. And then Judge with the RBI walk later on in the game in the bottom of the 6th to give him his 5th RBI. And the final was 9-5. So again, the Yankees just stomping on the Twins, advancing to a 44-19 record at the time, which officially made them 25 games over 500. Amazing. And then Thursday was the wild, funky game where Juan Soto was taken out of the game and set the world ablaze with worry. Because they went into a late game rain delay for basically an hour, more or less. And it was just a weird game. Starting off this game was Marcus Stroman. He did not have his best stuff at all. His ERA was inflated up to 3.16, which is still not bad at all. But that's when you know your rotation is just freaking amazing. That 3.16, you're like, wow, it's up to 3.16. Some teams would beg for that. 4 2/3, 6 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, and just 2 strikeouts, giving up 2 homers. Stroman's line. Not one of his better starts at all, especially considering it's the freaking Twins. But the bullpen went completely shut out after that and allowed the Yankee offense to do what they have to do. And doing what they have to do included a Trent Grisham 2-run shot. Again, that's what I'm talking about. His once-in-a-blue-moon flashes of power as a lefty hitter. And when he gets a hold of him, Trent, I got to say. But other than that, just mainly known for his solid center field defense, of course. But he put the Yankees on the board here, 2-1. And then tied up at 2, Gleyber hit a go-ahead 2-run double. So he did put in the work in this series, but come on, still. Austin Wells, sac fly, made it 5-2. Giancarlo Stanton, 2-run single, made it 7-2. That's when the Twins really started to creep up. Then up 7-5. Trent hit a sacrifice fly in the bottom of the 5th to make it 8-5. And that would finish a 3 RBI game for Trent Grisham, who never gets any playing time aside from this weekend, really, with Soto out. But it's a good game for him against the Twins here. And obviously, despite the joy of sweeping the series, everyone's mind was on Juan Soto by the time this game ended with his forearm discomfort. Obviously, there's been much relief since then in this arena, as we've discussed, but still, tensions were running high after this one. But overall, on a team basis, Yankees sweeping the Twins once again, going 6-0 officially on the season series, including the series at Target Field just a few weeks ago. Advancing to a 45-19 record, still amongst the best in baseball, and even still now as we head towards the end of the Dodgers series, but just incredible. Friday, right after they got done just gutting the Twins once again, the Dodgers came to town, and we had a feeling that Soto would not be in the lineup. He was not, and this game was very uneventful. I actually was at a wedding on Friday night, and I wasn't able to watch a minute of the game, but I was keeping track of it on the MLB app, of course. But I'm glad that I was not actually visually watching it because I did not miss a thing. Cody Poteet started the game, obviously in place of Clark Schmidt again, would have been his outing. He went 4 2/3, allowing 2 hits, 3 walks, no runs, only striking out 1, but again, another solid start for Poteet. Another couple more outs would have been nice, but otherwise, Victor Gonzalez finished off his inning. The bullpen did a terrific job this entire night. Even Caleb Ferguson pitched a shutout frame. That's when you know. But otherwise, again, another nice start for Poteet. ERA down into the 1s for him even. Just the Yankees can't go wrong with the starting rotation, man. But the offense went very wrong. Nobody did a damn thing until the Dodgers broke through on a 2-run double by Teoscar Hernandez, who has killed them this weekend. Killed the Yankees. Former Blue Jay, they're familiar with him, of course, but he has killed them this weekend, even last night as well. Put the Dodgers up 2-0 in the top of the 11th, finally. Yankees just blowing crucial scoring chances throughout most of the game, especially in the 8th and 10th innings. The 8th thanks to DJ, and the 10th just a huge choke job again. And the Dodgers finally broke through in the top of the 11th. Yankees hit back a little bit in the bottom of the 11th on a Judge RBI single, but that was all they did 5 hits in 11 innings. Dodgers win 2-1. Game was boring as hell, no action, and it was a good battle, but the offenses were dead. The Dodgers really didn't impress me. Even the Yankees didn't impress me at all either in this game, and 2-1 was all they wrote. And then it comes to yesterday's game. Talk about embarrassing. My goodness. Nestor took the mound. He went 5 1/3, allowed 7 hits, 4 runs. The 4th one came home when Tonkin had allowed it to come home on a ground ball, ground out to third base, but the runner was Cortez's responsibility. Didn't particularly look great, so I don't really feel bad that the extra run was charged to him. 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, gave up 2 home runs. Always seems to give up the home run when the game is just neck and neck, possibly right after the offense just came back and got his back, and he just gives it right back. So ERA now up to 3.68, and even though it's still not brutal, I mean, it's obvious that in this 6 starting rotation, Cortez is the weak link at this point. Can't really complain too much because, again, overall, the record isn't great. But, again, I don't care about pitcher record. It seldom does a pitcher justice. Sometimes it does, but it really almost never does. And the 3.68 ERA could be worse, but Nestor's just a frustrating pitcher to watch. Again, a lot of his runs will be given up. Well, first of all, he can't pitch on the road. He's terrible on the road. Second of all, whenever he gives up his runs, it's usually right after the offense does something or comes back for him or the game's neck and neck. It's just really frustrating. Has trouble keeping the ball in the park because sometimes he'll just serve up like an 89-mile-an-hour fastball with no movement. Sometimes his pitch will just be flat. And when you have someone like Nestor who doesn't throw particularly hard, and if there's not a lot of action on the pitch, then it's just going to get killed. And that's what happens to him a lot of the time. So even though he's definitely not brutal, he's still a frustrating pitcher to watch at times. He definitely can be. And the game was composed at first until about halfway through, and then especially at the end is when it got really embarrassing. But that was Nestor's final line, and the bullpen was okay until Tommy Kahnle came in and Gleyber made another error, which is what really had it come apart on an Ohtani ground ball that could have very well have ended the inning on a double play, and at the very least should have gotten at least 1 out. That's at least what should have happened. And then again, as I'd mentioned earlier, Dennis Santana came in once again and stunk up the joint like he usually does, giving up 3 runs of his own. Kahnle giving up that grand slam not long after the Gleyber error, and it was just a mess. Teoscar Hernandez going deep a couple of times, once off Nestor, and then the second time being off that grand slam against Kahnle. Just terrible. But at first, again, it was competitive. I mean, Teoscar started the scoring with a solo shot off Nestor, and then on a ground ball that was at first a double play, then overturned to being a force out, Austin Wells drove in the tying run. I'm going to be honest, on that replay, Wells was out. I don't know how they overturned this, him being safe. He was out. Got to be honest. Top of the third, Ohtani put them ahead on an RBI single. He didn't do too much in this series. Then, in the bottom of the third, Aaron Judge just hits an absolute piss missile into left field. And it gets out for his 22nd home run, tied the game at 2. Top of the 5th, Kike Hernandez hit another home run off of Nestor. So it was 3-2, and then Teoscar put them up 4-2 on a force out. So then, again, it was close, it was competitive, but then the wheels just fell off in the top of the 8th. Teoscar grand slam, Freddie Freeman 2-run double, Pahis with a walk with the bases loaded. So it was 11-2, and then in the bottom of the 9th, for his 23rd of the year, Aaron Judge happened to go deep. So that was nice, but it was long over by then. So the Yankees' final score is 11-3. So again, as I mentioned before, not a good weekend for the Yankees against the Dodgers. They do lose their first home series of the season. First series overall, again, since the O's series in April. But a lot to still be proud of with this team, especially with Juan Soto hopefully being right around the corner come the Royals or Red Sox series. And I do believe they're going to win tonight. But they do have tonight's game, which, again, by the time you're listening, you will already know the results. I do not at the time I'm taping, but I'm confident the Yankees will get a win. What is ahead for this next week before we end here? As I said before, Monday, tomorrow on the 10th, the Yankees head to KC to take on the Royals. Good pitching matchup coming up tomorrow night. Carlos Rodon taking his 8-2 record in 3.08 ERA, going up against Seth Lugo, 9-1, 213. Having a crazy year. The Bobby Witt Jr. led Royals. Having a really nice season over there. I'm very interested to see this series go on. So it's going to be 8:10 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night in Kansas City. Tuesday, same time, 8:10. On June 11th, it'll be Stroman against Singer. So be sure to tune in for that. Wednesday, the 3rd of 4, again, 8:10 p.m. Eastern. Another Wednesday night prime game. Everyone be aware of that in case you didn't already know. Cody Poteet is expected to take the mound again for the Yankees. No pitcher announced for the Royals. And to finish off on Thursday, June 13th, this game is at 2:10 p.m. Eastern. Be aware of that. Game will be back on Yes. And Nestor Cortez will be on the mound again for the Yankees. And for the Royals, it's going to be Alec Marsh. Then next weekend, the Yankees head to Boston to finally play the Red Sox in 2024. So this should be fun. Friday should be at 7:10 p.m. Eastern. Saturday should be at 7:15. This game will be on Fox. That's why it's got the little bit of a weird start time there. 7:10 will be on Yes as usual. And then next Sunday, we will have another for the second week in a row. Doesn't matter how bad the Red Sox and or Yankees are. It's still a Yankees-Red Sox game. That's why they're doing this, obviously. Next Sunday, when we'll be yapping again on the 16th, it'll be another ESPN Sunday night baseball game. 7:10 p.m. Eastern to wrap up the 3-game set in Boston between the Yankees and the Sox before the Yankees head into another Monday off day to follow. And with that being said, my friends, that is all for episode 222 of Yapping Yankees, because I got to get on out of here. But it was a very fun show today, even though it's shorter. Still a decent length, but incorporated some new sound effects, even with the crashes of thunder when doing my God impersonation. And you also had the Darth Vader famous no from Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, of course. One of my favorite movies ever. And I think I'll be using that one more because obviously it's very appropriate in certain situations. I don't know why I haven't used it more on the show, but I will do it more going on. But incorporating some even more new sound effects. Keep on doing that. No clips today of any big things going on, guys, because honestly, just crammed day. But still, of course, plenty to yap about, as always, each and every week. But before I let you go, just a couple of quick reminders, as always. Forgot to do the mid-show reminder of this again. Got to get better at that. But please remember to follow me on all social medias if you do not already, my friends. Facebook fan page is Mike Scudero NY. Twitter, X, is at Mike Scudero. Instagram is Mike Scuds97. Subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all 4 of the platforms it is available on. That is YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment wherever you may be listening. If you have the time, also, be sure to listen to any of the Yapping Yankees episodes you may have missed, guys. Episodes 34 to 222 today are all on YouTube, and every Yapping Yankees episode ever, episode 1 all the way up to today, those are all available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. But once again, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today. As always, my good friends, I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again next Sunday, June 16th on Father's Day, when I come at you with episode 223 of Yapping Yankees. But until then, guys, as always, hang in there, be patient, stay safe, look out for your loved ones. Go ahead and kick life's ass this week, as I always remind you to do each and every week, my friends. Go buy Dad a nice gift. Looking forward to Father's Day next weekend. Happy early Father's Day to all the awesome dads out there. We'll be yapping again on your day next week. And let's just hope that the Yankees can get back on track starting tonight with the last game of the Dodgers series. Let's salvage a game before hitting the road again. Let's at least split in KC and take it to the Red Sox next weekend. Before we talk, I'll probably do another daytime episode next weekend. We'll see how it all plays out. I'm not exactly sure, because I usually don't do an episode on Father's Day, so it's kind of uncharted territory for the first time in a long time, but we'll see how it goes nonetheless, my friends. I'm sure I will find time at some point, and we'll also return with a social media segment for next week once again. And also by then, I hope to have more Soto to talk about, because we're also expecting Soto back. So all good things for this week. Let's hope. But until we do yap again next Sunday on Father's Day, June 16th, take care, my friends, and let's go Yanks!